Pardon me, boy. Is that the Chattanooga Choo-Choo? Powdered antifreeze. Honestly say I've never seen that before. Alright, what I'm doing here is I need a few parts and pieces to finish up the 327. This is an old 283 I got with the engine hoard. I'm going to take the crankcase ventilation system out. I need that. I think I'm gonna take off these spark plug wire hangers just in case I use them. I am running ram horn manifolds, which is what this would have had, which means that would probably, let's see, I got a picture of that. It would probably work out okay. I also want these heat shields. These are mostly messed up. This one I can salvage, but they have the wire clips in them as well. And I really want those if I can get them because I'm running the same manifold. I have more at home if I need, but oh, and also I'm going to have to take off the pan, and I want the inner tube for the dipstick. Don't have one on the 327. Now I find this just fascinating, and I know you will too. So the 283's pan is just absolutely caked with frosting. Frosted with frosting, I don't know. Caked with crud. Couldn't even see some of the bolts. Had this 307 sitting right next to it, and pan was much cleaner, only had a few bolts holding it on, so I just went after that dipstick tube instead. Now the interesting part is the casting number and the prefix and suffix code come up as a 1970 307 2-bolt, measured out at 3 7/8, 3.875, so I figured it was not bored 307 from 1970. Pop the oil pan off, and if indeed this is a 307, which every other indication says it is, somebody went in and put in 4-bolt mains on a 307. Isn't that crazy? Well, hello guys. It has been way too long since I looked at this dude. Been jonesing to get back to this engine and just at least button it up, seal it up, hermetically seal it from the outside influence, the outside world. So we're just going to jump right into this thing. If you haven't seen the rest of this build, go back and watch that. But otherwise, the short block is finished. So we're going to start here on the front of the timing cover, then close the bottom end, and then we'll flip her over and work on the top. I've recently had a couple comments on my choice of color. Basically, I think both comments that I had, and they were within, I would say, a week of each other, hinted at the fact that it was sacrilege and a sin to have painted a small block Chevy anything but orange. Well, in fact, small block Chevys were not only orange, originally being red. They've been orange, they've been blue, they've been green, they've been black. And I pointed out this is going in a GMC anyway, not a Chevy. I love Chevy orange, one of my favorite colors for one of these engines. But it's just not where we're headed. So I guess, I don't know if I need to find a priest and bare my soul, but this is what I'm going with. A lot of guys ask about the sealer I use. I use silicone very rarely on assembling an engine. I use Permatex Aviation Forma gasket liberally. Well, not liberally. I put a thin coat on stuff. Typically like to put it on one side, so if I need to remove this timing cover within a short amount of time, it'll come off and just be stuck to the cover. Already had this is off the 305 for the 86 GMC. Already had the new seal installed as I was building that 305. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm a big fan of the old school, but one upgrade I'm certainly doing on this engine is the Felpro OS 34509T. That is the one-piece rubber oil pan gasket. That is just a great idea. The old cork and rubber four-piece one was so prone to leakage. So this is one place that I am going to use silicone, and just, we're going to squirt it in here. Well, maybe I'll use my finger. Better angle you down, it looks like. Just get it in the corners of the timing cover and the rear cap here. Now these kits come with all new hardware and they want you to use it. I, however, am going to retain these studs with the Torx head on them are from the 305. I put them in here. I'm going to retain those just on the chance that I have to pull the pan one day and put it back on from under the truck, and that way I can easily hold it up, throw a nut on there, and away we go. They do also come with these snap-ups, which is basically the same thing. You know how to use those. You've seen them before. Now we've got to make sure we get the little tabs in the rear here where they belong. Okay, so I got those all torqued down. This clip is for the transmission cooler lines on the GMC, so I put that back on. When we go back into the chassis with the engine, this thing also came with clips here and here that go on the positive battery cable going towards the starter, and then I think another bracket came off of here, off the bottom bolt on the fuel pump cover. And we'll get all that back in place later. Right now I don't want big old battery cables hanging off the thing. I need to do a little sandblasting for the pieces of the oil filter, and it's raining like crazy outside right now, which we desperately needed, so we're just gonna let it rain and we'll sandblast all of that later. Alright. Always an exciting moment, huh? These on here. If you're new here, these heads are off of the 305. Got a video of us redoing those. Grinding valves, grinding seats. Turned out really nice. I think they are going to work great on this 327, according to the numbers anyway. Always leaves more to paint when you mask off for the gaskets, but that's okay. Alright, I'm going to be doing two things here. I'm going to be squirting just a little dab of oil under the head, and then I'm going to be hitting the threads with Permatex, sliding them in. I really wish I would have thought to bring some of my tools from home that I like to use for this, but I didn't, so we'll just make the best of it. We'll get these all run in here, and then we will start torquing them down. 25 foot-pounds. 'That's kind of hard to keep track of when you're doing it upside down. 50 foot-pounds. 50 foot-pounds. 70 foot-pounds. 'Just had to get that visual real quick, see how we're looking. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to throw the other head on. You don't want to see that, do you? No, no. Okay, I'm going to throw our lifters in. These are Edelbrock ones I got with the camshaft so many, many years ago. This will be the second engine they've been in and never used yet. That's about to change, isn't it? This is my baffle for the inner crankcase ventilation. Where are you? Saw you. Oh, these guys make me mad. Look what they've done to my intake. Well, one vermin butt-kicking later, that is, he kicked mine. I've done my best cleaning up all the rust that he left behind on the intake. So we're going to keep moving forward on the gaskets here. Going to stick these on with just a little bit of silicone. Just a dab. Just want to let this set up where it belongs here. That ought to do it. Alright, I'm going to let that, man, I made a mess. I'm going to let that set up a spell, clean up my oopsies here, and we'll throw the intake on. Now while we're waiting for this stuff to set up a little bit, just talk to you about a couple decisions that I've made to do on this engine. Of course, yours, you do what you want. I was contemplating using block-off plates on the center exhaust ports here that go up into the intake manifold, just so it wouldn't burn off paint, and I really didn't know if I was going to use them or if it was going to be necessary. In the end, I decided to go with the bimetallic choke springs and do an automatic choke that way, so I will keep them open. So yeah, eventually my intake along the center will get discolored and burn off, probably, but that's okay. That's nothing new. The other thing is I'm not using the rubber end wall gaskets. I'm just using silicone. Never have the greatest luck with those. They always seem to leak and push out anyway. And on this old block, this early 327, you see it's cast up front here where the oil spout goes, like that could be another sealing surface. That actually does not mate completely all the way around on the bottom of the intake manifold. The older intake manifolds have a notch on the rear, so it doesn't seal anyway, and the newer one, like what I'm putting on, this doesn't even exist on the bottom. It's purely the front wall and that's it. So no need to run silicone there. Okay, going for 30 foot-pounds. Well, good morning. Left it in this state that you saw last night. I've got a water pump drying, repainted it a little bit, just touched it up because I took it off the 305 like so many other things. So I'm going to let that dry. I think I'll move on to the fuel pump, don't think I'll get into any danger there as far as beating it up when I put it back in the frame. And just want to make it as complete as possible. Probably put on a lot of, well, you know what? Why am I telling you about it? Let's just get into it again. We're going to start with the fuel pump here. I have a bolt with a rubber tip at home, but I did not bring it, that you can use to hold this rod in place. But that shouldn't be a big deal here. Get this plate on, and it might be a struggle getting the fuel pump arm in, but we can stick something in there if we need to. I'm just going to throw these bolts in here just so we're lined up before I tighten down the small ones. Get our rod back up there. Put some pressure on it through the hole, and that should work. You know what? I'm going to put some grease on, lube on here. Oh, now it's staying. It's stuck on with Permatex. The holes are blind, so you do not need a sealer. But if it makes you feel better, you just have fun with it. Just go for it. Again, this may not look like an old school water pump because this is the 305 water pump. At this point, I will probably be hanging all of the 86 GMC accessories onto the front of the engine. So, therefore, the 86 water pump. Now these are the 305 heads, and these are some older AC Delcos. Probably bought them, I don't know, 10 years ago. They're made in Mexico, so that at least tells you something. They're at least made in this continent, you know what I mean? For the 86 GMC, which the heads are from, you would have gapped them at 45, but since I am running old school ignition system for now, I'm not going back to the HEI. If you've missed those videos, I went ahead and gapped them at 35. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's what I'm doing. These are still the ones that are pretty toasty. I need to look into finding some different ones. Now, I grew up with the most definite opinion that you did not put gaskets underneath your stock exhaust manifolds. I'd be interested to know if you grew up the same way. And I went to John Deere dealership to get these grade 8 bolts, and they color code everything. So that's why they're blue, but you know, 5 minutes after we start it the first time, they're going to be changing color anyway. Plus, they're just beautiful. Oopsie, forgot to add our little wire holder here. My bad. You know, a guy can just really appreciate a quadrajet when you see these big old secondaries in the intake manifold. But you go to adapt to an Edelbrock and, oh, they're so cute. Well, like I've said, it's what we're going to run for now, and maybe one of these days I'll come across a good deal on an old Rochester and I'll rebuild it and throw it on here. Right now I'm going to put our bimetallic choke kit in here. I found one from a Hugger Performance Specialty Muscle Car Products. I probably bought it off of eBay if I had to guess. Their kit M00382 Quadrajet 64 to 70. Everything looks like it's going to fit just fine. The little hold down screw I had to cut down. It was too long, maybe 1/8 of an inch or so. But we can certainly deal with that. Let's get our rod started in the spring, through the cap, and snap her on. Tight and right. Now, I know there's at least one of you out there that is just awfully squeamish about what I'm about to do next. And that's okay. I will get it done my way, and you get it done yours. But it makes me wonder what you would do on an old engine like a 216 when you have no crankshaft threads. How are you going to get that pulley on there? No, seriously, I mean, a guy could get the special tool, or he could make one out of some all-thread, if you can even find 7/16 by 20 all-thread. I don't know if you can. But really, this is the way I've always done it. Just tap it on far enough with a rubber mallet to get, you know, 4 or 5 turns out of your bolt, put some anti-seize on it, and turn it on there. It works. And I was serious. Many of you know it. On the older engines, like a Chevy 216, the front of the crank did not have threads. You literally had to get a piece of wood and smack it with a hammer. You could try to heat it up a little bit, but you know, if you've got rubber in there, you don't want to heat it up too much. And you just grease the thing up and go for it, and that's all you can do. So I really don't think a rubber mallet's gonna hurt the bearings in there or anything. So, what's next? Alright, I have number 1 top dead center. Timing mark is on 0 on the tab. I know number 1 is in firing position because both valves are closed. They are stationary. Number 6, the exhaust is open. It is also at top dead center. Just like a 6-cylinder in this case, in a Chevy 6-cylinder. So I've gone ahead and put the rockers on that I'm going to adjust now. So both number 1s, number 3 exhaust, number 5 intake, number 7 intake, number 8 exhaust, number I'm lost, number 4 exhaust, and number 2 intake. So we will do this. Then I'm going to turn it 1 revolution till we're at 0 again. Number 6 will be at top dead center firing position, and I will put all the rest of the rockers on and adjust them down. This is your typical old school adjustment. Feel it with your finger till it stops easily. The manual says readily rotates, so it's not readily rotating anymore. So I'm going to go 1 rotation. And we're set. Now I want to button up the top of the head, cover up the valve train so nothing can get in there anymore. So I'm going to throw the cover on. For some reason I put it upside down than what I normally do, but I glued the gasket onto the cover with Permatex. Then that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything to the head side of the gasket. That way I can get in here, easily pop these off, and retorque head bolts. If we have a noisy lifter for some reason when I start it, we better not, but if we do, then I can easily get in here and take care of that situation. So we're going to go ahead and put these on. My gasket, my Permatex is still wet, so this thing's going to want to flop down, but we'll rise above it. I am using these hold downs from the 86-305. Just really ups your chances of getting that gasket pressed down where it needs to be and sealed right without having to just torque them things down, which doesn't help anyway. This thing really is kind of a, I don't know if I'd want to say monstrosity, but kind of a Frankenstein of an engine going into a 20-plus newer vehicle. Not going to go very tight at all. This is the top side of that crankcase vent down inside the lifter valley. And that's going to be one of our first issues to deal with on this build here. The hole right next to it is, I don't know if you can see that from your vantage point, but that is for oil pressure sending unit. And let me show you what that looked like on the GMC, just like that. So I either need to get a much taller piece of pipe, or we just relocate one completely, or we do something else. But that's a small issue, and I can even deal with that later. I think right now I'm gonna put these spark plug wire holders in here, or just drop them. These I just cleaned up and I dipped them in that Plastidip. Turned out pretty good. Okay, I don't think I have anything that can fall off. Man, this thing's gotten heavy. Ugh. Going to be installing a Wix 51143. Our gasket oily here. I may just have to write or stencil Frankenstein on this thing. Might be kind of amusing. But I've just been playing around, just dropped the distributor in, the coil, the carburetor on, just seeing how it would look. You know, I think everything's going to work. It's going to look cool. Going to be old school, going to be fun. Now, on one of the Humble Mechanic videos, I think I showed this air cleaner. This is actually even a little bit older than our 62 327. This is probably either most likely off of 348, late 50s, very early 60s air cleaner housing. Could have been off a 283 with a 4-barrel, but most likely it would have been a 348. But it's raining again, so I couldn't get it sandblasted and painted by the end of this video, which I wanted to do, but it is what it is. It's going to go on there just fine. I have plenty of clearance for all my linkages and everything. It'll look old school, it'll look cool. I like it. I still kind of want the dual snorkel air cleaner, but anyway, when all is said and done, all my accessories are really going to ruin everything, but what are you going to do? So anyway, thanks a lot, guys, for coming along. I hope this was enjoyable to you. I'm going to put this on the little engine cart so I can throw my transmission on here, change the fluids, change all the seals, everything. Then the two will become one and they'll be ready to shove back in the truck. Still got to finish working on that. I have no time for all this nonsense, but we'll get it done. So God bless you guys. We will see you on the next one.
Hey, what's that?
I don't know.
Get a load of this.
Wow, what a sweetheart.